This is Success Mentorship Class Start number 314. Our topic for today is All Things Have a Season. It's based on our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. And more information about our book and all of our projects are available on our website, herbertharris.com. We've chosen this topic today because as we move into this year, and by the way, this is the second Saturday of the third month of the year. And that means that 2 months have already transpired. That means that we have 10 months left. And so each one of our messages is to help build on techniques and information to help you make this year your year for outrageous success. Before we get started, let us do our meditation so that we can get centered on our being and on our consciousness and be open and receptive and ready to learn. Let's close our outer eyes, open our inner eyes, take a deep breath and hold it. Let it out slowly. Take a deep breath and hold it. Let it out slowly. And in this state of peace and relaxation, we are at peace with ourselves. I am at peace with myself. Let us affirm that. I am at peace with myself. Just let that peace sink in. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And in this state of peace and relaxation, my mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Let us affirm that. My mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Just let that sink in. Take a deep breath. Let it out slow. All right. I always love to open each talk with a quote. And today it's an interesting quote from Mandy Hale. She wrote a book called You Are Enough. And the quote says this: if I changed even one little thing about that season, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have fought the hardest battles of my life and won. If I changed even the smallest thing about that season, I would not be where I am today. I would not be who I am today. And I would not have fought the hardest battle of my life and won. That's a profound statement, folks, about seasons, about your season, the seasons in your life. And so when we look at where we are right now, this state, this place in the year, last year we talked about releasing the past and freeing ourselves from all the negative thoughts, negative people, negative experiences that happened in the past, and putting ourselves in a new vibration of going forward to live life looking out the front windshield of our cars. So once we have released the past and we begin to move forward, the question is, what are the key principles that can keep me moving forward most efficiently? And I love the scripture, and this is not religion, but there's a beautiful scripture, and it says, all things have a season. To everything, there's a season and a time to every purpose under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. And it continues to present these opposites, these dichotomies of good and evil, of positive and negative. And what it's really saying that the world operates in a yin-yang process, that everything has a season. Every life experience has a place. That there is no night that is so dark that the sun does not rise. But on the other hand, there's no day that is so full of light that darkness does not come. And so this idea of all things have a season is really saying that change is inevitable. And that life is a continuous river. We say we have our experience of life, our interpretation of life on the river of time that flows into the sea of eternity. And this river of time flows very differently at different times. You know, sometimes the river of time flows very smoothly. Times of calmness and times of harmony, times of abundance. Wow, those are the good times. But then at other times, the river of time flows over the rapids, over the rocks, even over the waterfall. There's maybe times of discord, confusion, pain, suffering, lack, limitation. So the river of time does what the river of time does. It is governed by a series, a context of laws and principles. But the essence of this idea that all things have a season is that nothing is static. All things unfold at the appropriate time. The challenge is that many times we don't understand it. When we have a negative experience, when we have one of those moments when it seems that everything has gone wrong, we have to really look hard to say, aha, this is for my growth. But then the other side of that is that no matter how bad the tragedy, no matter how strong the adversity, that it's only temporary. And the brighter days are ahead. And let me tell you, folks, that's a good thought. Because many times right now, and I guarantee that many of you who are listening online in our success mentorship class, on Instagram, on YouTube, I know that many of us are in those moments where, man, stuff is happening. In those moments where it seems that, people disappoint us, that lack and limitation overtakes us, that we may be experiencing fear and anxiety, that our habits may be consuming us. But it is just at these moments that we realize the rhythm of life, that there's always going to be ups and downs. But the beauty is there's always a resolution of it. There's always a next that is better than the last. So let's look at 4 concepts. The first is to get a big picture concept. When we say all things have a season, there's a lot of implication there. It's like, who's making the season? Who creates it? Who makes it happen? And to recognize that all of existence is based on certain thoughts, certain concepts. First, the concept of time. There's always a then and there's always a now. The concept of time is a profound measure of consciousness from where we were to where we are to where we can be. There's the concept of energy, that everything that exists is a energy form. It's either a form of energy and as a thought form, as a vibration form, or as a manifestation. Many of the things that we seek and desire begin in our mind. The first law of success says, a mind, a man shall have whatsoever it thinks in his heart. And so therefore, there's a correlation between thought and manifestation. And then there's the concept of order, that everything works in accordance with principle. And you know, we're not talking religion, we're talking spiritual principle. That there's a spiritual principle, just as there are laws of gravity and laws of electromagnetism, there are laws of consciousness, there are laws of success. So everything operates in accordance with an order. And that order is in the consciousness of the supreme, all powerful, all knowing being, by whatever name we choose to call it. And then there's the concept of change, that everything is always changing, that the universe and all of our lives are constantly in a state of flux. And so we're on the river of time, and the river is always moving. Now, how we respond to that river determines the quality of our lives. So the key at this moment to understand that all things have a season is to understand that we are in the context of this big picture of time, energy, order, and change. Our contribution now, our interpretation of this 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 platform is in our ability to choose. So the river of time does what it does. Our interpretation, our experience of the river of time is based on the choices we make. So step one is to recognize the bigger picture. Step two is to accept it, to realize that everything that happens to us in our lives is for a good purpose, that we are always in the process of growth. So even though negative things may happen to us, it's always how we look at it. So when we look at a negative experience and we say, what lesson should I learn from this? Maybe I'll learn not to jump into a relationship too fast. Maybe I'll learn that all I need to do is go one more round and I can be victorious. And so once we accept this principle of change and choice, then we embrace each moment now, because each moment on the river of time gives us the possibility to choose how we relate to it and how we want to live our lives and the things we want to do. You see, you can't get to the promised land without going through the forest. You can't get to the promised land without climbing over the rocks. You can't get to the promised land without removing the things that block your way, the people that block your way, the structures that block your way. But this idea of all things have a season means that sooner or later you win. The third key is to understand the power of patience and persistence. One may ask, what is more powerful, a rock or water? And I guess the conclusion that you might immediately say is, well, a rock is much more profound than water. A rock is hard, where water can be twisted and can change states. But when you look at the Grand Canyon and you see a hole a mile deep created by water flowing over rock over time. And so this idea, this power of patience and perseverance is huge, because patience and perseverance are really the fabric of hope. There's an Arabian proverb and it says, he who has health has hope. He who has hope has everything. And so this idea now that through patience and persistence, we can accomplish anything. Through patience and persistence, nothing is impossible. And so through patience and persistence, every experience that we're having right now is for the purpose of enlightenment and for our own growth. Now that's a concept we need to just dwell on for a moment, so that whenever negative stuff is going on in your life, it's for your growth. And when you see it as that, then you look at it and interpret it differently. Rather than woe is me, it's like, wow, what do I learn from this? I know I won't do this again. I love the thought that patience and persistence are the wind beneath the wings of hope. Because as long as you have patience and persistence, anything is possible. The fourth key is to recognize that all things work together for good. And that's a mindset, folks. We always talk about, when Norman Vincent Peale wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, he was really saying something very profound. It was really saying that if you always see whatever your situation is from the positive perspective, then you set the seeds for a positive outcome. And that every experience that you have right now is for a good purpose. I know sometimes it's hard, boy, when you go through some of those bad ones. Ooh. A good friend of mine once, really high flyer, and made millions, but he played that game of all or nothing at all. And when he, as they say, bet on the wrong horse, picked the wrong endeavor, he always gave it his all. And when you give it your all, sometimes you lose it all. And he lost it all. But his mindset was so interesting. He said, as they auctioned off his house, as they repossessed his car, he said, wow, I'm free. I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. Let me think about my next project. Let me work on the next victory coming down the line. This is powerful, folks. So whenever there's joy or sorrow, it's always for our growth. It's always for our transformation. And the moment you look at it like that, everything changes. No matter what your present condition. And see, this is the key. We can get so focused on our present situation, on our present condition, that we don't see our potential. I always talk about the prodigal son, but these stories in the Bible are principles for understanding, and they apply over and over and over in different situations. And so the prodigal son was at the worst point in his life when he had lost all his money, when he's feeding somebody else's pigs. And so you may be at the worst point in your life, when maybe you've lost your money, lost your friends, lost your possessions. But as long as you have your health, there's hope. The prodigal son could have looked at his situation and said, woe is me. I'm in the pig pen of life and I deserve to be here. This is what I deserve. This is who I am. Or the prodigal son could change his mindset and said, I don't belong here. I come from a powerful source. My father has food enough and more. Even his servants are doing good. Let me arise. And this is the key, that when we say all things have a season, arise means to see it from a different perspective. So when the pain happens, see it from the idea this is going to make me strong. When the disappointment happens, say, oh, this is going to make me plan better. When stuff doesn't go the way you want it to, you say, oh, let me learn a lesson from this. It's all about making choices. So no matter where you are and what you're going through right now, you always have a choice. You have the David and Goliath choice. Okay? Now, David could have chosen to walk away. When we look at the allegory of all the people who would go up to fight Goliath, this giant that was there to imprison the people, David was probably the last one on the list. He was not a military man. He did not have any training. He did not have any weapons that people understood. But he knew who he was, and he knew that was his mission. The interesting thing is this: if there was no Goliath, there'd be no David. Think about that now. If there had been no Goliath, if everything went along smoothly and there was no Goliath, then we would have no David. And so, what the message is here is many of the negative stuff that happens to you is to bring out the Goliath and bring out the David in you. So, let's summarize these 4 points now to recognize that all things have a season. One, to understand that this is how it works. This is how the universe works. And you have to understand that everything operates in time, energy, order, and change. And that your input to this is choice. You choose how to respond to it. The second key point is to accept that change is natural. Change is necessary for the evolution of consciousness. If you maintain the same mindset, you're going to have the same experience of life. So your experience of life evolves based on your change in your mindset. If you are chilling and don't apply your mind, don't think a new thought, then the river takes care of you. The river takes you wherever you want to go. The choices you make is how you navigate your ship on the river of time. And so once you accept this, that second step, that accept this natural state of change now, and you do that with gratitude, you say, wow, I get a chance to grow. I get a chance to know more. I get a chance to do more. When you don't fight it, when you don't flee it, when you don't forget it, when you face it, you grow through it. And that's why you're up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Some of us in California up at 5 o'clock in the morning because you have that desire to change and to grow through it to get to the next point in your life. The third point, to use that power of patience and persistence where nothing is impossible. Idea of change is so profound. Think about this. Time always moves. And when we use the analogy of water, standing water kills all things. When you have standing water, if that water does not flow, standing water, everything there dies sooner or later. And this says to us, if we are not going through the changes of life and all of these experiences, then we literally die inside because we don't get a chance to demonstrate who we are and how powerful we are. That third point of that the patience and persistence being the wind beneath the wings of hope. Through patience and persistence, nothing is impossible. And finally, that fourth thought, that all things work together for good. And this is that change, that whatever happens to you in your life, when you see it from the perspective of good. I love that thing that scripture says, joy comes in the morning. And that's a promise to you that all you have to do is have patience and persistence, and you will win. When I think back on the quote we this morning, think about this. Let's just refer to this quote again. And it says, if I changed one thing about that season, I wouldn't be where I am, I wouldn't be who I am, and I wouldn't have fought the hardest battles of my life and won. So those of us who are going through challenges right now, be happy. Know that all you have to do is keep standing, keep growing, and you will keep growing. We can get so busy dealing with our present situation that we don't see our future potential. So the question I'll leave us with today is, what season are you in? What is your Goliath? Even the butterfly. Think about that now. The caterpillar transforms into a butterfly. The caterpillar that's basically ugly, bound to the earth, crawling around, goes through a profound metamorphosis to become a butterfly. You're a caterpillar, but there's a butterfly in you. In my thinking once does a caterpillar make a choice to be a butterfly? I don't know. Does every caterpillar become a butterfly? I don't think so. And so, as a man, as mine, we have that unique characteristic of choice that we choose who we become. So we can be, if we're fighting the season of lack of money, if our finances are jacked up, we might be so busy chasing pennies of survival that we can't see the dollars of abundance that exists in our dreams. Someone said the cemetery is the richest piece of land on the planet because there's so many dreams and goals buried there with people who didn't act on them. Are you in the season of anxiety and fear? It happens. And these things all work together. When your money is funny, you can be very fearful. You can suffer anxiety. But I love that song with Andre Crouch, and he says this. He says, he brought me this far, and he's going to take me all the way. He didn't bring me this far to leave me now. And so when we're going through those throes of challenge and just defeat and disappointment, we keep remembering that song. The fact that you're alive and even facing that challenge says that it's for a purpose. It's for a good purpose. And that you must grow through it. In the book of Job, Job says, the things that I feared have come upon me. And so then that scriptural principle says, then fear not. You choose to fear. So choose not to fear. Choose possibility. Choose potential. You might be in the season of bad habits. You may be in the season of drug addiction, of alcohol addiction, of relationship addiction. And I've seen people go from one relationship, bad relationship, another relationship, bad relationship, to another relationship. So you might be addicted to bad relationships. Some people even addicted to laziness. But let me say this to you, that anyone who's addicted to staying where they are and not excited about going where they can be have a choice to make. Choose this day whom you will serve. Will you serve addiction? Will you serve laziness? Or will you choose to change? This might be the season of bad relationships. We can be surrounded by people who don't honor us, who don't uplift us. We can be in a relationship with a person who doesn't love us, no matter how much we love them. But there comes a day in which you look and you come to a realization that some people may be too hurt for you to help them. When you come to that realization that no matter how much you love somebody or something, that you can't change them. And once you realize that you can't change a person, then that is the sun rising for you to say, okay, it's time for a brand new day. If I can't change them, I have to move. I have to go to another level. So every season, everything has a season. All seasons work together for good, for growth. And you have the power of choice and action to make your season be a good one. You have the power of choice and action to change, to be persistent, to be patient, so that when the time and the tide changes, you will always be victorious and ride the wave of hope and faith that you can be what you want to be, do what you want to do, and have anything you desire, always knowing that the best is yet to come. And so it is. Just let that sink in for a moment, knowing that you have the power. This has been Dr. Herbert Harris. Be sure to visit our website, herbertharris.com. Get your copy of the 12 Universal Laws of Success and some of the other goodies we have on our website. And whatever you do, always remember that you have the power to be whatever you want to be, do whatever you want to do, and have anything you desire, always knowing that the best is yet to come. And so it is.